Dereta, dereta, dereta. Stoppa, stoppa, stoppa. Muokare, muokare. Hop, 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 hop. Non muova. Ah, l'asparagus.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Stephanie and welcome back to my channel. So in the video today, I'm going to be discussing how much should I spend on PA school applications. So for those of you who do not know or have not seen my videos, I applied to PA school 2 times. So I applied the first time to 9 schools, second time I applied to 15 schools. So that's a lot of money because when you're applying to PA school, you're going through the CASPA application. Now I applied several years ago. I don't know how much the price is currently, but when I applied, I think some of the schools were between 90 to 100 or 60 or 70 for the schools that I applied to. And this was just through CASPA. Now some schools had additional applications that you had to go and fill out. So that was an additional $50, some of them were even $100 for an additional application. So it gets really expensive when you're applying to several schools. Like the first time that I applied, I spent more than $1,000, and that was just for 9 schools. And to be honest, I didn't get accepted the first time. One of my interviews was even in California, and I spent money flying to California, staying in California, and I actually also rented a car and that was just for the interview. And to get waitlisted after that and finally rejected, it can be disheartening sometimes because you're putting a lot of money into your applications. The second time I applied, I told myself I'm going to apply to a lot more schools, and I ended up applying to 15 schools. So that was definitely a lot more than 1,000. I will put the amount in a few minutes. And it can be a lot of money because, like I said, you're paying for the CASPA application. On top of that, you're paying for the school application, because some schools do have secondary applications you have to submit. So it can be very expensive. So how did I pay for that? Thankfully, I graduated in 2016. And after 2016, I just worked a lot. It really worked a lot. And the reason why I worked is because I wanted to get more patient care experience hours and healthcare experience hours. So I worked in the medical field. And then during that time, I was able to save a lot of money for my PA school application and also for PA school in general. So I was able to use this money to for my PA school applications, for flying to California, etc. Also, on top of that, I didn't have any loans for any of my undergraduate years. So I know some of you may have undergraduate loans, and I know it may be hard to apply to PA school specifically because of the price. But I always see it as an investment, and I think that's how you should see it also, is it an investment into your future. Because once you graduate as a PA, obviously you'll be making very good money. So you'll be able to pay all that out, whether you had to take out loans, whether you had loans already from your undergraduate years. Always keep that in mind, that as a PA, you'll be able to pay that out. And it really is a good investment into your education. And that's how I saw it. So I didn't really see it as a waste of money. Even though the first time I applied, I did waste a lot of money because I had to pay for flights or even driving if some of them were within Texas where I had to stay in a hotel. But I really did see it as an investment. And then on top of that, for my taxes, when it came around for my taxes, I was able to put that towards my tax refund. So also make sure you keep that in mind and make sure you take note of it. That way you can get some of it back in your tax refund, because it really is a school expense that you're paying for. So PA school applications can be very expensive, like I said. Just make sure that you think about it as an investment. I would say for the 2 years, I probably spent more than $2,000 the 2 years that I applied, but in the end, I got accepted into PA school, and it really was worth the money that I spent, and I'm really happy that I applied to so many schools and I had the experience that I had. And not only that, you're also paying for example, I had my personal statement, and I had it looked over by several individuals, even some PAs, but I still wanted it to be perfect and pristine, so I actually paid someone to look over it. So that was an extra money there. On top of that, you're also paying for the GRE, to take the GRE. And we know that's not expensive. If you're using anything to study for the GRE, like textbooks or even websites like Magoosh, that's also more money you're spending. So that adds up, but just think about it as an investment, guys. It really is an investment for your education. And just look at it this way, guys. Alright guys, well that's just how much I spent. If you're worried about how much money you're going to spend Like I said, it's an investment, it really is, and it's worth it. And I always say this in all my videos, but I think the more schools you apply to, the better chance you have of getting accepted into PA school. I know at the time you can be like, you know, it's a little expensive, it's adding up on the CASPA application, but I really recommend you to do it, because if you only apply, for example, to 3 or 4 schools, and with PA school getting so competitive now, you know, usually the average PA student, from what I heard, applies to like 6 or 7 schools, and that's a lot. So more schools you apply to, the higher chance you have of getting into PA programs. And there's a lot of programs in the US, so you're able to choose what programs you want to apply to. And when you're choosing, make sure that you also research the schools. Research every school you're applying to. Research their prerequisites, their science GPA cutoff, their overall GPA cutoff, their patient care experience, what the requirements are in general, and also how much the program costs, because that's another thing that you want to take into consideration when you're applying to PA school. Whether you want to go to an Ivy League school that's really, really expensive, or just a regular, I would say, public university that's affordable, because that's how much you're going to be in debt once you graduate from PA school. So that's another thing you also want to take into consideration. But when it comes down to your applications, I would say apply to as many schools as you can. That way you cast a wide net and you get accepted into PA school. It can be a little pricey, but it really is an investment you are making in your future, in your education, and it really is worth it once you start getting those interviews. And say you get 4 or 5 interviews, and you get accepted from 4 or 5 schools, then you're able to choose what school you want to get into. Versus if you only apply to 3 schools and you got accepted from 1 school, and you're like, well, I didn't really want to go to that school, but it was the only school that accepted me, then you're kind of forced to go that way. Versus where you're able to choose what school you want to go to. Alright guys, as always, I hope you guys like my videos. If you guys have any questions for me, any concerns, any comments, feel free to email me or comment below, and then I will get back to you as soon as possible. If you guys have any ideas or any videos you guys would like me to make or questions to address, feel free to comment below and I will contact you as soon as possible, and I will make those videos also as soon as I can. Alright guys, thanks for watching my videos, and I'll talk to you guys later.